You walk into a room and conversations pause. Not because you're loud, because you're silent. Not because you demand attention, because you command it without asking. This isn't about becoming a villain. This is about becoming untouchable. And if you've ever felt invisible, overlooked, or dismissed, what I'm about to show you will change everything. You clicked on this video because something inside you is tired of being underestimated. Tired of people walking over you. Tired of being the nice guy who finishes last while watching mediocre people control rooms you should be ruling. I promised you an untouchable personality. And that's exactly what I'll deliver through Machiavelli's ancient code. Not through aggression, but through a psychological presence so calculated, so mysterious, that people have no choice but to respect you. See, 5 centuries ago, Niccolo Machiavelli decoded the secret language of power. Not the power that screams, the power that whispers and makes the whole world lean in to listen. Today, you're going to learn his most dangerous insights. And by the end of this video, you'll never be the same person who entered it. But first, let me ask you something that'll probably make your skin crawl. The prison of being liked. How long have you been a prisoner in the jail of other people's approval? Every morning you wake up, check your reflection, and ask the same pathetic question. Will they like me today? You adjust your words so you don't offend. You swallow your opinions so you don't create conflict. You smile when you want to scream, and you say yes when every fiber in your body wants to say no. And what do you get for this emotional prostitution? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The easiest way to lose control is wanting everyone to like you. When people see you need their approval, they own you. Machiavelli said, "It's better to be feared than loved." Why? Love changes when it's convenient, but fear comes from seeing someone has power. In power games, what people think becomes reality. You can't be strong while begging people to like you. They'll see you as weak. Needing approval is like wearing a collar, and most people wear theirs proudly. You walk into rooms changing what you say, making your voice softer, hiding what you really want, just so people will accept you. These are people who wouldn't care if you failed. That's not real friendship. That's just giving up quietly. You make yourself smaller so others feel better, but they still don't respect you. You could give them everything, and they'd still leave you the moment you say no to something. You were taught that being likable makes you strong. It doesn't. It's what weak people do to survive. Being likable is like money in a world full of people who desperately want to belong. But real power hates desperation. When they smell that you need them to like you, they put you in a box. Someone they can use, someone they can trick, someone they can throw away, without feeling bad. You don't have to be mean to change this. You need to stop caring if they approve of you. Kill the part of you that wanted to be everyone's favorite. Bury the people-pleaser who said sorry for being bold. Shut up the voice that asks, "Did I mess up?" Power doesn't ask permission. It just acts. Think about the last person who truly commanded your respect. I guarantee it wasn't someone desperate for your approval. It was someone who carried themselves like your opinion was irrelevant. Someone who spoke their truth regardless of how it landed. Someone who could walk away from you without losing sleep. That's terrifying to most people because it means they have no leverage over you. And when people can't control you through approval, they're forced to respect you through fear. Not fear of violence, but fear of irrelevance. Fear that you might just be powerful enough to succeed without them. But here's the sick part. You've been programmed since childhood to believe that being liked is success. Your parents rewarded you for being agreeable. Your teachers praised you for following rules. Society convinced you that popularity equals power, but they lied to you. Popularity is the consolation prize for people who can't command respect. Machiavelli understood that the approval seeker is always at a disadvantage because he needs something from everyone he meets. He needs validation, acceptance, reassurance. But the man who has killed his need to be liked, he needs nothing, and that makes him impossible to manipulate. You'll see something change once you stop trying to be liked. Every room you walk into feels different. People watch you more carefully. They think before they speak to you. You feel more important. Why? Because you're not trying to blend in anymore. You're not playing by their emotional rules. You've chosen to stand out in a room full of people trying to fit in. That scares people who want to control others. From now on, you don't bend over to be liked. You stand tall to be noticed. You don't explain your choices. You just make them happen. You don't ask, "Is this okay?" You say, "This is who I am." Let them feel the change. Let them sense you're different now. When you stop chasing their acceptance, they start chasing your attention. So right now, I want you to make a choice that will separate you from 95% of the population forever. The power of psychological mystery. The most dangerous weapon you possess isn't your fists, it's your silence. Mystery creates respect. Total transparency destroys it. When people know exactly what to expect from you, you become manageable. And manageable people don't command anything. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This wasn't philosophical poetry. It was a psychological warfare manual. The man who reveals everything has no cards left to play. But the man who reveals nothing forces everyone else to show their hand first. You've been living your life like an open book, haven't you? Sharing your feelings, explaining your decisions, justifying your actions. Every emotional reaction, every personal detail, every vulnerability, you've handed it all over like you're running a charity for human curiosity. And what has that transparency gotten you? Exactly what you deserve. Complete predictability. Predictable people are powerless people. When others know exactly how you'll react, what you'll say, how you'll behave, they stop respecting you and start managing you. They push your buttons because they know which ones to press. They manipulate your emotions because they know which strings to pull. But the moment you become unreadable, everything changes. When you stop explaining yourself, people start creating explanations for you. When you stop reacting emotionally, they start imagining what you might be thinking. When you stop filling every silence with words, those silences become heavy with possibility. Machiavelli knew that mystery creates authority. The unknown is always more powerful than the known because the human mind can't help but fill gaps with imagination, and imagination is always more extreme than reality. When people don't know what you're capable of, they assume you're capable of anything. Mixed signals create obsession because they force people to work for understanding. Complete openness removes the chase, the challenge, the unknown. But when you speak rarely, move with purpose, exit unexpectedly, and enter with impact, you dominate their mind. They repeat your conversations, they interpret your behavior, they speculate about your plans, and every speculation grows your presence in their consciousness. This is why you need to become comfortable with being misunderstood. Let them wonder why you're so calm. Let them guess what you're thinking. Let them project their own fears onto your silence. You're not being fake. You're being strategic. You're not hiding. You're protecting your psychological advantage. The mysterious person terrifies the insecure because insecurity needs control, and mystery cannot be controlled. You become the storm they can't predict, the equation they can't solve, the person they can't figure out. And that makes you unforgettable. But mystery without charm is just being antisocial. What you need next is the ability to draw people in while keeping them at exactly the distance you choose. The seduction of calculated distance. True power isn't pushing people away. It's making them come closer while never letting them arrive. Machiavelli understood that influence isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the one everyone turns to hear. The prince who shouts his power is insecure. The prince who whispers his power is inevitable. You're going to learn the most counterintuitive truth about human psychology. The less emotionally available you are, the more emotionally valuable you become. It's the scarcity principle, applied to personality. What's rare is precious. What's abundant is worthless. Charm isn't about being liked. It's about controlling the room. It's getting attention without asking for it, affecting people without even touching them. Here's the secret. Real charm doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being exact. Cold charm scares people because it feels planned. You're not smiling because you're happy. You're smiling for a reason they can't figure out. People think being charming means being friendly. Wrong. The most powerful charm is controlled, sharp, cold, and mysterious. It's eye contact that lasts just too long. It's staying calm when everyone else is loud. It's saying their name just once, but in a way they remember for weeks. The trick is simple. Make them feel special, but don't let them get close. When you're charming but don't care, people get obsessed. They think about your conversations over and over. They wonder why you were nice, but kept your distance. They try to figure out your tone, your timing, your vibe. That confusion creates interest, and interest turns into attraction. You didn't share too much. You didn't try to impress them. You left them confused, and people hate being confused. That's how you get into their head without chasing them. Think about the people who have the most influence over you. I guarantee they're not the ones who are always available, always agreeable, always eager to please. They're the ones who give you their attention selectively, who show interest but maintain distance, who make you feel special when they're present and slightly empty when they're gone. This is calculated distance, the art of being present without being possessed. You engage with people, but you don't need them. You show interest, but not investment. You create connection, but never dependency. It's the difference between being a drug and being addicted to drugs. Machiavelli wrote about this in the context of fear and love. Fear is held by the apprehension of punishment, which never fails. But he wasn't just talking about physical punishment. He was talking about the punishment of withdrawal. When you make your presence a reward rather than a guarantee, people work to earn it. You speak to them, but you don't overshare. You compliment them, but not excessively. You give them glimpses of who you are, but never the full picture. You create emotional tension, not through cruelty, but through selectivity. You become someone they have to earn, rather than someone who earns them. This drives people insane, because most humans are emotional vacuum cleaners, desperately sucking up validation and attention wherever they can find it. But you're not feeding that addiction. You're creating a different kind of hunger, the hunger for your approval, your time, your energy. But maintaining this distance requires something most people will never develop, the one trait that separates kings from peasants. The throne of emotional discipline. The man who controls himself controls his world. Here's what separates you from every other person trying to build confidence. They're trying to control external outcomes. You're going to control internal responses. They're trying to manage how others behave. You're going to master how you behave. They're focused on winning arguments. You're focused on winning yourself. Machiavelli observed that the greatest princes weren't the ones who never faced adversity. They were the ones who never let adversity control their decisions. Emotional discipline isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about choosing your responses. It's about feeling the storm, but refusing to dance in the rain. Influential people watch. Fragile people respond instantly. If they can trigger your reaction, they've discovered your weakness. This explains why history's most intimidating figures all possessed one trait: emotional restraint. They witnessed the disorder, listened to the deception, experienced the pressure, and remained silent. They struck when others least anticipated it, and this made their quiet moments more devastating than any outburst. You don't earn respect by answering every provocation. You earn it by forcing people to wonder why you remained unmoved, why you held your ground, why you grinned when they anticipated fury. Emotional restraint breeds uncertainty. It forces them to reconsider their strategy. The instant you cease reacting like others expect, you become impossible to read, and being unreadable disturbs people, particularly those who depend on manipulation. Every day, life tests your emotional discipline. Someone disrespects you. Someone tries to provoke you. Someone pushes your boundaries. Someone questions your authority. And in those moments, most people fail the test. They react, they defend, they explain, they prove their power through emotional displays. But you're different now. When they insult you, you pause before responding. Not because you're weak, but because your response will be calculated rather than reactive. When they try to provoke you, you remain still, not because you don't care, but because your stillness is more threatening than any outburst. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote about the lion and the fox. The lion represents strength, the ability to destroy when necessary. The fox represents cunning, the wisdom to know when destruction serves your interests. But both require emotional discipline. The undisciplined lion attacks everything. The undisciplined fox tricks everyone. Neither maintains power. Your emotional discipline becomes your reputation. People start to notice that you don't break under pressure. They observe that you don't need their validation to feel secure. They realize that you don't respond to manipulation tactics that work on everyone else. And slowly, they begin to understand that you operate by different rules they don't understand and can't control. This is terrifying to most people, because it reveals how emotionally weak they are in comparison. When everyone else is reactive and you're responsive, when everyone else is desperate and you're selective, when everyone else is available and you're scarce, you don't just stand out, you stand above. But emotional discipline alone isn't enough. What makes you truly untouchable is wrapping that discipline in something no one expects. Master yourself. Command respect. The most dangerous people are the ones who smile while they destroy you. They don't dread the angriest person. They dread the most restrained one. The person who governs himself, his responses, appetites, feelings, and actions. Intimidates everyone. Why? Because he's impossible to predict. He doesn't act from impulse. He acts from choice. And choices made without emotional chaos are the deadliest tools in any influence battle. Most people are prisoners of their impulses. They chase comfort when they're overwhelmed, approval when they're doubtful, and payback when they're hurt. But the controlled person decides differently. He experiences the same turmoil but doesn't break. He postpones satisfaction. He observes his desires like a stranger. That kind of restraint unsettles people because it exposes how undisciplined they are. You want to transform how people approach you? Command your impulses. Rise early even when your flesh wants rest. Speak with precision even when you want to explode. Refuse when it would be simpler to agree. These minor acts of dominance create a presence that feels unreachable. And that presence, gradually, becomes frightening because it demonstrates mastery over self. Self-mastery isn't about acting like you feel nothing. It's about experiencing everything and still selecting your reaction. It's entering a scene where everyone's panicking and being the one person who breathes deeply, watches silently, and acts deliberately. That degree of composure is uncommon, and what's uncommon earns reverence, especially when people discover they can't push you toward vulnerability. You must become the person who doesn't require outside pressure. You exercise because it's your standard. You abstain because deprivation focuses your thoughts. You postpone pleasures because your time isn't negotiable. That's the kind of authority that doesn't shout. It emanates. You don't have to declare you're powerful. People will detect it in your bearing, your gaze, your habits, your calm. When others surrender themselves to ease, you forge your strength in hardship. You select order over indulgence. You select focus over confusion. You select dominance, not just to wow others, but to conquer your own thoughts. And when you do that relentlessly, they begin observing you differently. They begin questioning their approach around you because you've become something they can't influence. You want to command respect. Conquer yourself. Discipline your flesh. Rule your appetites. Remove pathetic patterns. Guard your time like a ruler protects his throne. And most crucially, never justify your discipline. Let your achievements communicate. Let your energy do the speaking. And this brings us to the final piece, the one element that ties everything together and makes you truly untouchable, the aura of barely contained power. Courtesy is a tool, not frailty. In a society of harsh overreactions, a composed, much appreciated can seem more menacing than shouting. How? Because people anticipate feelings. They anticipate rage, mockery, affirmation. But when you offer them nothing, only etiquette, only grace, they become lost. Your restraint transforms into mental manipulation wrapped in civilized behavior. You can unsettle someone with a grin if that grin conceals your actual intentions. You clasp their hand, meet their gaze, and communicate like a diplomat. But underneath that composure lies a consciousness that's emotionally unavailable. A consciousness that recognizes their methods, their manipulation, their flaws, and declines to respond. That's when unease enters, because they understand they're not interpreting you. They're assuming. Most people associate courtesy with vulnerability. That's their error. Genuine authority doesn't elevate its volume. It doesn't grandstand. It manages tone. It manages tempo. It manages timing. The more steady you remain, the more intimidating you become, because people can't determine whether you're peaceful or simply preparing to act. That uncertainty, that's where mental superiority starts. You need to abandon thinking that being respectful equals being emotionally transparent. You can be gracious and still unreachable. You can communicate softly while revealing nothing. The secret lies in not responding. When they mock you, praise you, or attempt to bait you, reply like you're discussing climate, detached, courteous, unmoved. Allow them to struggle with their own unease as you remain mysterious. Grasp this. When you're emotionally quiet, people impose their own insecurities onto you. They populate your silence with their worry. They question if you're furious, let down, scheming, or indifferent. That's influence without strain. You didn't offend them. You didn't elevate your voice. You simply declined to give them insight. And in that emptiness, they collapse. Begin employing formality as protection. Communicate less, but express it perfectly. Praise without affection. Refuse without justification. Grin without happiness. Not because you're heartless inside, but because your feelings are restricted access. You don't distribute your internal reality like donations. You defend it like a stronghold. Allow them to wonder. Allow them to speculate. Allow them to worry that you perceive more than you reveal. This is how the most formidable individuals operate. They navigate turmoil with elegance. They join tables with adversaries and raise glasses courteously. They surrender nothing because they recognize that unpredictability clothed in courtesy is the most disturbing arsenal available. They're not emotional reactors. They're calculated tacticians wearing facades. Moving forward, don't amplify your voice. Reduce theirs by remaining indecipherable. Be courteous, but impossible to understand. Maintain composure when they anticipate disorder, and never allow your expression to expose your thoughts. And now, everything changes forever. Final transformation. You are no longer the person who started watching this video. You've been introduced to a version of yourself that most people will never meet. Calm in chaos, silent in storms, untouchable in a world full of people desperate to touch everything. You don't chase respect anymore. You command it. You don't seek attention. You earn it. You don't beg for space. You take it. Not through aggression, but through presence. Not through volume, but through value. Not through desperation, but through discipline. Machiavelli's code isn't about becoming a monster. It's about becoming a master. Of yourself, your responses, your presence, your power. It's about understanding that in a world full of reactive, needy, predictable people, the person who is responsive, selective, and mysterious doesn't just stand out. They stand alone. And standing alone is exactly where power lives. From this moment forward, you walk differently. You speak differently. You exist differently. Because you've unlocked something most people will spend their entire lives seeking and never finding. An untouchable personality that commands respect without demanding it. They'll never see you the same way again. More importantly, you'll never see yourself the same way again. If this video revealed something inside you that you didn't even know existed, if you felt that shift happening while you were watching, if you're ready to stop being overlooked and start being unforgettable, then prove it. Like this video right now. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what I'm building here isn't just a channel. It's a brotherhood of men who refuse to be invisible anymore. Comment below and tell me, I am untouchable. Let me know you're ready to join the ranks of men who don't ask for respect. They command it. The choice is yours. Stay invisible or become inevitable. What's it going to be?